Hello and welcome back to our part 2 edition of the Rank and Report Champions League predictions and previews episode. If you have not seen part 1, hit the card in the top right hand of your video right now to watch the part 1 of those previews. But we've got part 2 and we've got some interesting fixtures. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm very good, mate. We've got some lovely fixtures and I can't wait to get into it. The first one was a raging success. I'm sure by the time this one goes out, it's got about 50k views. So, this is just the follow-up, and I hope it enjoys the same success as the first one, really.
Yeah, this will be viral video number 2 here. But on that topic, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we release a new video. And if you or anyone you know would be interested in the podcast form of this show, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, search us up. The Rank and Report Football Show will be the first thing that comes up. Give us a follow, give us a subscription, leave a review, tell your mom, tell your dad, whatever you got to do, pass the show on. All right, Charlie, should we get into our first fixture?
We should, yes.
And that is an exciting one. That is Atletico Madrid versus Chelsea. When this draw came out, I think it may have been less exciting than I had, I'm thinking about it now. I think that was before, obviously, Thomas Tuchel has come into Chelsea. Atletico were not yet on the just tear that they are on right now. But I think by the time this rolls around in 22 days' time, it could be a new look Chelsea, and Atletico could have already been crowned champions in Spain. I think this is an exciting tie.
Yeah, I think the best thing you can say for Chelsea's prospective fortunes in this one is that Thomas Tuchel is a man with a plan. He likes to adapt his teams based on the opponents that they're playing. The first couple of weeks that he's been manager, they've enjoyed a win against Burnley, but his first game was kind of a dull 0-0 draw against Wolves. But I think in his early days, he's got very specific ideas. I think you can forgive him for not having a concrete plan to combat Nuno Espirito Santo at Wolves. But with a team as high profile as Atletico, I'm not saying this will happen, but I think Chelsea fans will be dreaming that Tuchel will have a plan for such a high profile team with such a well publicised way of playing Atletico, which is to just be extremely solid defensively. And on the topic of solid defence, Adam, do you see any way that Chelsea can breach Atletico given their absolutely ridiculous record this season?
I think if Chelsea has all of their talent fit and firing, that's Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech. I think if those guys are all in, top form, then yeah, they absolutely have a chance. It's some of the best talent in world football. But the issue is none of those guys have been fit and firing all at the same time this season. Some of them have yet to be fit and firing at all. I think this game, you could probably write a match report on this game before it even happens. Chelsea are going to dominate the ball. Atleti are going to be solid, and they're going to pick their chances to go forward. But no, to answer your question, I don't see how Chelsea, in their current form, we've still got 3 weeks or so until this matchup, but in their current form, I don't see how they pick that lock.
And it's quite a lock to pick, really. At this point, Atletico, they've only conceded 10 goals in 19 league games, and I totally agree with your point. If they're fit and firing, brilliant. Chelsea are in with a minor chance, but they've not been fit and firing at all. Werner, after a reasonable start where he kind of scored some goals in cup competitions and stuff, he is now approaching the point where people are asking serious questions of Werner. And especially when someone like Tuchel comes in, who is German, he knows German football, and he knows Werner's game extremely well. It's approaching the point for Werner where he's got no excuses anymore. And it's the same for Havertz, who came in for such a monstrous fee, somewhere around £70 million. So I think there is a good chance that they will be fit and firing in the end, but Tuchel's not got a long time to get them fit and firing. So yeah, with that in mind, I think it's going to be quite a cagey affair in both games. But I think when it comes to big European nights like this, Atletico are going to be going into it with so much confidence. And if Chelsea aren't careful, they could be caught a little bit like a deer in the headlights. So I've got Atletico winning this comfortably. I don't want to jump the gun here, Adam. I don't want to jump the gun. Feel free to, come back with what you've got as well. But I see Atletico winning this 2-0. I don't think Chelsea can breach them. I think Atletico are going to win it fairly comfortably.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Atleti's experience in these situations, there was that stretch where they were in a semifinal or a final like 4 out of 5 years. It was unfortunate that they happened to meet Real Madrid, Zidane's Real Madrid, who won 3 in a row in all of those years. But yeah, I think they're, Simeone and the experience that they have in these situations, and this style of football is made for knockout football. It's just made to be solid and pick your opportunity to go forward. And now when you're Atletico Madrid and your options going forward are Marcus Llorente, Joao Felix, Luis Suarez, Thomas Lemar, who's, he's been a shell of himself basically since he left Monaco, but he's finally starting to find some form. You've got Yannick Carrasco back from, I think it was China that he was, the Chinese league he was in, and, he's back and he's firing. So I think Atleti just have too much firepower, even in attack, for this Chelsea team. Yeah, I think it's going to be close, but I think, a 2-0 scoreline will flatter Chelsea. I think it's going to be a blowout in everything but the score, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think you got to look at where these two sides sit in their respective leagues. I think Atletico could be 13 points clear if they win both their games in hand. Something along those lines. Chelsea sit down in 7th, and I think they've played a game more than some of the teams around them, so they're lucky to be in 7th at the moment. So, going on form this year, Atletico are just a totally different animal to Chelsea. And, given what we've talked about, I can't really see this game turning out any other way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we both got Atleti to go through over Chelsea. And moving on to our next tie. This is one that I am probably way more excited for than most people, but I like to pride myself on watching all of the leagues as often as I can, over every weekend. And I've watched a lot of Lazio this season, and they are coming up against the reigning champions, Bayern Munich. I would say nobody in the world has Lazio going through in this game, and to spoil it, I don't either. But I am really, really excited for this tie.
Yeah, there's going to be a ton of goals in this one. There's going to be tons of goals, is my prediction. Lazio, they've got the worst goal difference in the top 7 of Serie A. Bayern have only got the 5th best defensive record in the Bundesliga. However, Bayern are averaging 3 goals a game. So, scoring loads, conceding loads. On the other side, Lewandowski's got 27 goals in all competitions this season, which at this stage is ridiculous. And on the other hand, you've got someone like Ciro Immobile, who's got 18 himself, which is also really, really good numbers for him. So yeah, all things considered, an absolute goal fest, a slugfest, this one. But, when you've got, if we're using the slugfest analogy to take it further, you've got Bayern is perhaps a better quality slugger boxer than Lazio. So at some point you would imagine that Bayern are going to score the big knockout. Is that what you think? Is that what you see happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a high scoring victory for Bayern, but I think this game is kind of set up for Lazio. Bayern play a really high line, and I think Ciro Immobile, Felipe Caicedo, Luis Alberto, who is a brilliant attacking midfielder, kind of a late bloomer, but anybody that watches a lot of Lazio will know that he is an absolute talent. These guys are going to have a lot of joy getting in behind this Bayern high line. But yeah, I think it's just going to be a little bit too much for Lazio to handle. Thomas Muller is on a roll, Lewandowski, like you mentioned, and Bayern are just a big game team. When they come up against somebody that is a threat to their championship status, their title race in the Bundesliga, they love these big games, and I don't really have any hope for Lazio, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're saying it's going to be a goal fest, which it probably is, but two good attacking sides, but we can't get carried away here. Bayern are clear and away at the top of the Bundesliga, Meanwhile, Lazio are 6th in Serie A, kind of clinging on to the coattails of that group of teams that are fighting for the league in Italy. So you've got two teams who are in slightly different brackets, really. And for that, like, we've got to go off our rankings. You know, we do rankings on this channel every couple of weeks, and Bayern have consistently been up there with the best teams in Europe. So, barring something incredible, I would expect a Bayern win, and generally over the course of 2 legs, the best team, not always, but over the course of 2 legs, it does give it more of a chance for the best team to prevail overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be an exciting tie, but we've both got Bayern Munich going through. And moving on to the final 2, we've got Atalanta versus Real Madrid in the first of those final 2. Another really exciting one. I think another one that is 2 teams that, when you look at their budgets, their individual talent, there's a bit of a gap. But it's 2 teams that it could be a really explosive tie. And, you know, Atalanta as a team we've talked about so much on this show. Our very first ranking episode, we both had them in at number 1 as the number 1 team in Europe on current form. Obviously, that was a few months ago. But this is another really, really exciting tie, Charlie.
Yeah, this could be the best tie of, you know, the last 16. This really could. And this scoreline could be absolutely anything. It's like, shut your eyes and press 2 numbers on the keyboard. That could be what the score is, because it's really hard to tell what Atalanta is going to turn up. One week they beat Milan. They outclassed Milan, who have been so hard to beat. They outclassed them 3-0 at the San Siro with 3 scintillating goals. And the next week they lose 3-1 to Lazio. I think that was the score. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it totally depends on which Atalanta are going to turn up. And I don't know, is there any way to know which one's going to turn up? Adam, you watch a lot more of them than I do, so I don't know. Are they just a streaky team, or is it totally independent week to week?
It really is independent. It's a complete crapshoot what team is going to show up. But it's been a really weird season for Atalanta. You know, Papu Gomez was the heart and soul of this club, and you know, is a falling out with their manager Gasperini. You know, there was reports that after a Champions League group stage game, Gasperini handed in his resignation, and the club said, "No, you're not going anywhere." And Papu Gomez was like, "Right, if he's staying, I'm leaving." So it's just been this really weird up and down season. I'm sure, you know, issues off the field haven't helped them on the field, but you know, we saw in their Champions League semifinal, you know, getting to a semifinal last year, that on their day they can be a really, really good team. We've seen it this year, like you said, going to the San Siro and really dominating Milan. But then, you know, they'll put up a stinker in the next week. So I don't know. It's really tough. I want to say that Atalanta can be unbeatable on their day, which they can be. But I think over 2 legs, you know, we haven't even come on to Real Madrid yet. I think over 2 legs, there's just too much of a talent and experience discrepancy here.
Well, yeah, let's talk about Madrid, you know, before we get to any predictions. They're the most seasoned group of players in this Champions League. You know, being in the last 16 won't faze them even a little bit. Neither will the quarterfinals. It'll still feel like small ball to them because so many of these players have gone all the way multiple times. Players like Karim Benzema, Luka Modric, Sergio Ramos, they are so seasoned in the Champions League, and having Zidane as the manager as well, who obviously won it 3 times in a row. And you know, when you look at their performance this season in the Champions League, they had a little bit of a wobble in the group, which was just one of the most surreal groups that we've seen in the Champions League for a long time. They got beaten by Shakhtar at home, but they finished first in that group, ahead of Gladbach and Inter Milan as well. But Atalanta did okay in their group as well. They came behind Liverpool, but they did beat Ajax into second place, and Ajax are a great team. I'm a big fan of Ajax this season. But the main thing with this tie is we can't really state it enough that Atalanta can absolutely beat anyone on their day. They absolutely can. To go and beat Milan 3-0 at the San Siro. They've also beat Ajax away in Amsterdam during the group stage, and they beat Liverpool during the group stage. So for that reason, Adam, controversially, I think Atalanta they're gonna go through. It's the upset of the round. You know, you've got to pick one upset. You've got to make one hipster decision, and I think in one of these games, Atalanta are gonna blow Madrid away. I hope to see that anyway. Not that I've got anything against Madrid, but it is just a spectacle when Atalanta do get going.
Yeah. Look, I was really, really torn on this one because, it's a team that you and I both love and we love watching, in Atalanta. But something about Madrid's experience, they love these big games. They love these knockout round fixtures in the Champions League. My only worry is if Atalanta, have one of their good days and they put 3 or 4 goals up, I'm worried about Madrid scoring that many as well. Karim Benzema's got 10 goals in La Liga. The next highest scorer on the team is Casemiro from a defensive midfield position with 4 goals. So if they're not coming from Benzema, they're not coming. So I think you'd have to rely on Atalanta being on one of their off days, which it truly is 50-50 on which team is going to show up. But I think Real Madrid may just have enough over 2 legs that they can be really, really solid away from home. I think they can just nick it at home, but I think it's going to be really tight. And if Atalanta go through, I will not be surprised in the slightest.
No. And either way, it's going to be great to watch. There's a lot of talent in every fixture in the last 16, but on both sides here, you got, obviously we all know about what Madrid have got. And then with Atalanta, you got players like Ilicic, who's fantastic to watch. Zapata and Muriel, both in really good form. So yeah, it's going to be a good one to watch. If I want to venture into some foreign football, which I do, and I'm not good. If I don't watch the English tie that's on that night, I think Atalanta and Real Madrid is the one that I will be venturing towards.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, coming on to our final tie of the round, and that is Manchester City versus Borussia Mönchengladbach, which I think maybe on paper the talent gap is really, really big, but Borussia Mönchengladbach are a solid team. We've talked about them on our most recent rankings episode. I think they featured for the first time in our top 10. This is another, I think, really good tie, and Manchester City have a lot of pressure on them. Pep Guardiola has a lot of pressure on him to deliver City their first Champions League, and not only for the club, but for him personally, there's a lot of pressure. So this is a really good tie.
It is a good tie. And this isn't a walk in the park for City at all. No way. Gladbach are currently 7th in the Bundesliga, but they've been going through runs of form, really. And at the moment, they're in quite a good run of form. So, like you said, they're not packed with really well-known talent, but players like Ginter, who has been capped a lot of times by Germany, players like Lars Stindl, who's scored 11 goals, 6 assists in all competitions this season. And just Marco Rosa, the manager, is a really well-respected manager, and they're just a really well-run club at Gladbach. So I think they have got it in them to cause City some problems, especially considering I think they're likely to be without De Bruyne for that first leg. And, Aguero, who knows, he's seemingly been out forever and ever. So I think there is scope for Gladbach to really take advantage of a weakened City side in the first leg at least.
Yeah, I think when this tie first came out of the pot, as a City fan, I kind of shuddered a little because I was thinking, this is made for Mönchengladbach to sit back and counterattack, and they can counterattack really, really well. Lars Stindl, Breel Mbolo, Dennis Zakaria, there's a lot of talent on this team. But I think we have to come on to City, and where you have to start with City is in defense. And the thing that has kept them from going on these deep runs in the Champions League, basically since Pep Guardiola took over, has been their leaky defense, and they've plugged that leak. And I think City just they have too much over 2 legs here. I think Borussia Mönchengladbach are a really good side, and I'm really high on where they are right now in the season. They're in a really good patch of form, but I think Gladbach are maybe meeting this City team a season too late.
Yeah, I agree. I do see City going through. I think Gladbach have done fantastically well to be here. To get through that group with Madrid and Inter Milan and Shakhtar Donetsk in it is a fantastic achievement to get through that group ahead of someone like Inter. So they'll be really happy to be there. But I think it will be tight though. City have got a great defence. They've got a fantastic defence. So I don't see Gladbach getting more than one goal really over the course of the two ties. But with De Bruyne and Aguero both out as well, on the whole, I think there's some stuff to get excited about for City when those two haven't played. But on the whole, I've found us quite uninspiring. You know, we're looking at players like Ilkay Gundogan or João Cancelo, the fullback. We're looking at players like that who have really been star performers this season. Strangely enough, we're looking at those kind of guys to really carry us through in those games. And, you know, crazily enough, they are capable of doing that. They're talented enough to do it, but it doesn't seem like a sustainable model to be relying on a centre mid in Gundogan who's not inherently really attacking, and a fullback in Cancelo who is attacking, but at the end of the day he's a fullback. So, you know, I don't think there's tons of goals in it for City, but I think there's less goals in it for Gladbach. So I also think City are going to go through on this one.
Yeah. I mean, in all probability, whoever wins this is going to just barely shave it. I think probably by 2 goals or less. You know, we've seen from Pep Guardiola this season that in years past, we've seen that he is not really willing to slow things down and be solid and focus on the defense. You know, he's always tried to control games, but by outscoring the opponent and keeping the ball for more than the opponent. But I think we've seen from Pep this season that he is willing to just kind of stink the place out a little bit. So yeah, you know, like I said, I've got City going through, but I think it's going to be really tight and really low scoring probably.
Yeah, I'm with you. For City's sake, I just wish they had that goal machine, which they've been missing all season. I'm not even talking about Aguero, just any goal machine. The top scorers this season, we've got 3 players on 9 in all competitions, which really, when you think of some of the numbers we've been reading out over the course of this video and the last video, we've been saying Lewandowski on 27, Immobile on 18, you know, players like that, and City are still sitting there with Sterling, Foden and Gundogan on 9. So, you know, would feel much better with a goal machine, but, you know, all things considered, I think City will manage it.
All right, shall we move on to our predicted champion? And we're also going to throw in a potential dark horse champion in there. Charlie, I will let you go first. Who do you see coming out as the Champions League winners of 2020-21?
Adam, I appreciate the courtesy of letting me go first. However, I think maybe you should go first while I really just finalise who I'm going to choose.
Are you that torn?
Because I'm so torn, mate. I'm so torn. So maybe your talk will give me some inspiration. I promise not to copy you. I'll engage in some independent thought. But, you know, I appreciate it, but I would prefer it if you went first.
All right. Well, my champion for this season, this may not come as a surprise, but from a totally non-biased point of view, I have got Manchester City finally getting their Champions League title.
Okay.
I just think that they are now so solid in defense. You know, you look at seasons past where, you know, the game at Anfield in the, quarterfinal where they gave up 4 goals. They gave up 3 goals at home. You know, you think back to Pep's first season, they gave up 3 goals at home to Monaco. You know, they scored 6 in that game, but those 3 home goals was what eventually saw them out. You know, you think back to, 2 seasons ago, the home game against Tottenham where they gave up 4 goals at home, or maybe 3 goals, I can't remember exactly, but that is not going to happen, in my opinion. That side of this Manchester City squad is gone. They are so solid in defense now. You know, Ruben Diaz and whoever he partners with, whether it's John Stones or Aymeric Laporte, they just don't look like conceding goals anymore. And I think, you know, there, like you said, there isn't a center forward that is banging in the goals, but I think you can take some solace in the fact that you do have multiple players, you know, nearing double digits. You know, City play, who are they playing tomorrow? Off the top of my head, I don't know why I can't think of it.
We are playing
Burnley.
Burnley,
yes, it's Burnley. Thank you.
Okay, good.
I mean,
Good.
we're looking at possibly after the Burnley game, 3 or 4 players that could be on double digit goals. So I think just to put a positive spin on that, you maybe were a little negative on the fact that there isn't someone just piling in goals, but I'm not too unhappy about it if the whole squad is chipping in with 7, 8, 9, 10 goals. So I think City just finally have enough firepower and the defensive solidity to do it.
Yeah, I think we do. There is a little disagreement there on the goal machine front. It's just a personal thing, probably, but I just feel so much better when you've got one player who's just filled with confidence. When you're lining up against the other team, I just feel so much better as a fan to know that we have got this bad guy who is going to cause you absolute chaos. And they're all terrified of him. Having said that, City, having had my thought, and I have had my thought, I think City will be very, very close. I do think they'll be close. Again, their incredible run of form at the moment, their incredible undefeated streak, which I think is on something like 18 or 19 games. I think they've won 12 on the spin, wins. So, I think they're in with a great chance. But the scars of previous years will haunt us, is my prediction. I don't want to speak this into existence. But
you're going to.
I'm going to choose to not believe the speaking into existence thing. I'm just going to I'm going to preach my truth on this issue. If I'm scared, I can only imagine how the players will be. I think there'll be big pressure on it. There'll be big pressure on it because they're doing it for themselves. They're doing it for the fans. They're doing it for Pep Guardiola's name, because people have been saying for the longest time that Pep, almost weirdly enough, they think his tenure will be defined by whether he wins the Champions League or not. But something about it just thinks, I'm picturing John Stones in a Champions League final. I love John Stones and the great run of form he's having at the moment, but he's got a mistake in him. And I think City have got a good chance. That's what I'll say. I think City have got a good chance, but they'll need to show some great resolution to really see it through to the end. So, yeah, I like your decision, but that's not who I've gone with. I think Atletico Madrid will edge it. That's what I think. They've come close before. I think they might have got to 2 Champions League finals in the last few years. Is that right? And lost both to Real Madrid, which is just pain. Absolute pain for them. They'll still be out to avenge that pain. They've got the same manager in charge in Diego Simeone, who must just be, pulling his hair out trying to win this Champions League. And they'll know that this season is the best chance they've got to do it. And I don't think Simeone has got that long left in the job. He's linked with moves away quite a lot, and he may feel that it's time for a fresh challenge at some point soon. So I think there might be an element of urgency for Madrid. And like I say, we keep up with all of Europe's top 5 leagues, and going into these Champions League knockout stages, Atletico Madrid are the best team in Europe. So on that basis, I'm gonna just about award it to Atletico, but I think City have got a good chance as well. Adam.
Yeah, I mean, Atleti were definitely close in second for me as far as a champion, and maybe this is a final that we could be looking at. I think that would be a really interesting final if it was just 90 straight minutes of İlkay Gundogan and Raheem Sterling trying to pick the Atletico defense lock. But yeah,
it would be terrifying, wouldn't it? But I can just picture it now, 0-0 in the 88th minute. No matter what happens in that final, it is going to be 0-0 in the 88th minute, and then I'm just going to be terrified.
Yeah, it's another one of those, especially as a City fan, that you can write the match report ahead of time. You know exactly what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. But yeah, I think it's a wide open competition this year. I think our usual big boys like Barcelona, Real Madrid, they're not at their absolute heights that we're used to. So I think it's a wide open competition. But let's talk about a couple of dark horse contenders. Somebody that potentially we may have even predicted to lose in this first round, but if they have their day, they can make it all the way to a final. And I'll let you go first this time. Who is your dark horse contender?
My dark horse, strangely enough, because they're kind of a giant in European football, but given how they're doing domestically and how we've spoken about them, I'm going to give the dark horse badge to Paris Saint-Germain. I don't know if you can. Do you?
This feels like such a cop out of this whole segment to go with PSG.
What do you mean? They're not even top of they're not even top of the French league. Right, hang on. Let's think. What have we got? Dark horse wise, we got Sevilla. I can't, with hand on heart. I'm going to rationalise this. Okay, with hand on heart, I can't say Sevilla are going to win it. Dortmund, they're in domestic freefall, so I can't say them either. Atalanta, I love Atalanta, and like we said, they're unbelievable on their day, but they're going to have their day a lot of times in a row to win the Champions League. So yeah, who does that leave us with? Porto are terrible. Juve, I considered them, but again, they're giants of European football, so it would be kind of difficult to call them dark horses. Liverpool, Leipzig, neither of them dark horses either. I suppose you could make a case for Leipzig. But I'm going on, Adam. I'm going to say PSG because they're third in Ligue 1. They've had to sack their manager mid-season. No one fancies them for this tournament, Adam. No one fancies them at all, I don't think. I'd say they're probably fifth or sixth favourite. But with the talent, with the urgency and the desire and Mauricio in the hot seat, I think they are the dark horses and they've probably got a better chance than most people think they've got.
All right, I'll allow it. I'll accept it. Yeah, I mean, there's every chance in the world they're one of those clubs that, you know, on their day, Mbappe, Icardi, even Moise Kean. I can't believe I'm naming Moise Kean and with the likes of Neymar and Mbappe. But yeah, on their day they can beat anybody. So I'll allow it. But my dark horse contender is Atalanta. Even though I have chosen them to get knocked out in this first round by Real Madrid, as both of us mentioned, that on their day, if they absolutely turn it on, they are completely unbeatable at times. So I guess I'm just saying Atalanta are going to have, 8 of their days in a row? Yeah, I mean, look, there's a reason I predicted them to get knocked out in the first round, and there's a reason that I'm predicting them to be a dark horse contender because, you know, on their day,
what's happened here? Yeah, what's happened here is we've taken two different approaches to the notion of the dark horse. You've picked a true dark horse, which realistically has a very small chance of winning. I've picked someone who maybe isn't so much of a dark horse, but has got a better chance of winning. So, you know, viewers, audience, take it as you want to take it. That's all I'll say. Take it as you want to take it.
If I was in a coma for the last 10 months and I came out of the coma in mid-June and I said, Charlie, who won the Champions League? And you said to me, PSG. I'd say, yeah, that makes sense. But if you had answered me, Atalanta, and Duvan Zapata had a hat trick in the Champions League final, I'd probably just slip back into a coma.
Yeah. But the thing is, Adam, the question here wasn't name a dark horse if you've been in a coma for the last 10 months. So, you know, that kind of changes the question a little bit.
Yeah. All right, well, why don't we wrap up there? A lot of fun talking about these Champions League predictions. Obviously, we've got about 2 weeks until the first round of matches kicks off. Should be really exciting. If you are still here 35 minutes in and you enjoyed the video, please drop a like down below. Hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell next to it to be notified whenever we release a new video. We have got, you'll probably be seeing this on about Thursday or Friday. We've got our brand new European power rankings coming out early next week, so keep an eye out for those. Yeah, Charlie, any last words for the people?
Just, you know, come back, subscribe to us, comment, engage with us, tell your friends, bring more people along. That's it, really. Just, you know, come and keep watching our content. We keep trying to make it better and better. We hope you're enjoying it. And I will see you, Adam, and everybody else in our next rankings video.
All right. See ya.